This is breaking news.
Mayor Adams is making an announcement about traffic safety that could impact the placement of red light cameras in New York City. Let's go to it now.
50%. And this is not about enforcing new rules or creating new requirements. This is about enforcing the existing rules of the road. Stay within the speed limit and don't run red lights. The cameras are the only way the city has an effective tool against broad-based enforcement and getting risky drivers off the road. Today we're on a site where tragically Isaiah Benlos needlessly lost his life. We're here today with Isaiah's family. They represent what the pain looks like, what the tragedy looks like when we don't have the right tools in order to enforce against reckless drivers. So I want to turn it over to our mayor, who has so eloquently talked not just about the importance of a mother's love, but the depth of anguish of a mother's loss and the need to restore public safety to our streets. Today is our day that we ask Albany to give us the tools to make that happen. Our mayor, Mayor Adams.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And all day today, all I do is hear about what do we do with the bad things that people do in the city. We just forgot about the good people that are doing their lives every day. There's just a focus on, the bad people, those who speed. Why should we have more cameras? Those who carry guns. Why should police officers arrest them? Why should we prosecute? This is just fixation on the bad people in the city. I have a question today. What about the good people? What about the people that don't break the law? What about the people that don't speed? What about the people that don't carry guns? Do they matter? And so, for us to be here today, and before I talk about this horrific case, this is what we captured yesterday. And the DA and the police commissioner and others, 33 guns from 2 people. And people are asking, why do I have an anti-gun unit? What the hell is wrong with you? Because 7-year-old girls should not be shot. I am going to ignore the noise, and I'm going to hear the voices of New Yorkers who are tired of feeling as though their streets are unsafe. Gun violence and vehicle crashes. It's an 18-year-old baby. I can't believe we're here fighting to get control over speed cameras, or you're saying a 70% reduction. This family is mourning. I cannot even imagine losing Jordan at 18. This is just unbelievable that we are here trying to convince Albany to give us the speed cameras we need that has proven to be successful. The numbers are so clear on how these cameras are helping us. And Andrew Janardis, the state senator, and others have been advocating for this for so long without getting the help we need. Here's a young man that basketball player at Lincoln High School, going to community college, everything we want our children to do. And not only does he have to dodge the metal of a bullet, but he has to dodge the metal of a car that is sped through a light and hit the car that he's in. This is devastating for the family, that they had to experience this. And it happened near a school, PS 245. And the real crisis is that the law requires that we turn off the cameras after a certain time period. Who are we protecting? We're protecting the speeders? How about protecting Isaiah? Why don't we try something different in New York State? Why don't we try something different? Let's just, for the next 4 years, let's do something different. Let's protect the innocent people. Let's have advocacy for the next 4 years and use this as a test case. For the next 4 years, let's say we're going to protect innocent people in our city. You know, can we try that? And all of the loud voices of those who want to protect people who break the law, can they join us and protect people who are following the law? That's what I'm trying to do, so we don't lose this beautiful young child, 18 years old, because someone decided to speed at 3 in the morning when we had to, by law, turn off the camera as though people stopped speeding after school hours. It's not acceptable, and that's why we're here today without advocates and saying that we don't want to continue to rob our children of a lifetime of success based on vehicle crashes. Family for Safe Streets, or other advocates have been talking about this for so long, and to have the families here continuing to join a membership and an organization that no one wants to be a member in, and that's losing a loved one to a vehicle crash. And the number of fatalities is nowhere near the equivalent and exceedingly high number of people who are traumatized because they are the victims of vehicle crashes. And so we believe that if we get this home rule message and have control over our speed cameras and our red light cameras, we can make a difference. Since the pandemic, 59% of traffic fatalities occurred during hours when the city speed cameras are turned off. just doesn't make any sense. Well, you know, you guys are just trying to use the speed cameras to tax people. No, this is not about dollars and cents. This is about common sense. A common sense approach to stopping the culture of speeding in our city. But no, let's look at this. When we operate speed cameras, we see a 72% reduction in speeding and a 14% reduction in injuries from traffic fatalities. Follow the numbers. The numbers are clear. And even in those intersections when we don't, we start to create a culture that people stop speeding. And so the job that we have is to make sure that we make New Yorkers safe, stop people from speeding, parking in bus lanes, to ensure bus lane enforcement, red light enforcement, and make our city a safe place. That's all we're doing. So I'm sorry. I am really sorry. And those who are holding this back, they need to hear from us. And that's why we're here today. This is our life work, because we don't want to continue to see lives prematurely taken from us. This family is traumatized, but also our councilwoman who was in the school where this young man attended, she's traumatized. His fellow students are traumatized. People who watched him play, they're traumatized. His classmates are traumatized. These are innocent people. Does anyone care about innocent people anymore? I do. I do. I do. I do.
Thank you, Mayor Adams. I want to take a moment also to recognize some of our elected officials that are here today in support of the efforts to get the tools we need to get reckless drivers off the street. State Senator Andrew Janardis, Councilmember Rita Joseph, Councilmember Julia Menon. And next, we're going to hear from a voice I know you've heard a lot from on the subject of street safety, my colleague, Commissioner Rodriguez. Thank you very much.
Let's first dedicate a moment of silence in the memory O sea, vamos a dedicar un momento de silencio a la vida del joven que se fue a tiempo. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Yoshi, and thank you, Mayor Eric Adams, for your leadership not only on this, but in many other issues important for New Yorkers as you lead us to take the city back. Today is a sad day. Hearing the story that this family has shared with us definitely bring us to a place of thinking on what is that we can do. And that's why we are here joining the leadership of Mayor Adams and the family and everyone to say, stay in New York, give the home rule, give all control to New York City on a speed camera and automatic enforcement. This corner was the site of a tragic loss of life. A driver who speed through this intersection also ran a red light. Isaiah's death came with the extra suffering for him and his family of a beautiful son lying in coma for more than a year. So horrible. We at DOT are doing so much this year to stop crashes like this, including making 1,000 intersections safer this year, as you heard in January from Mayor Adams, Deputy Mayor, and myself. We also know that we need more tools to stop the epidemic of speeding. So today we are focused on automatic enforcement and speeding. After all, DOT knows that lower the speed cameras, speed limits, red light cameras, and speed cameras save lives. As Mayor Eric Adams said, we also know that a solid majority, almost 60% of all traffic fatality since the start of the pandemic now happen on overnight and weekends. We also know that where we locate the speed cameras, speeding decline by an average of more than 72%. We are standing right now in one of the 750 school zones citywide served by speed cameras. In fact, one of the most successful speed cameras in the entire city is about one block up Ocean Avenue. It is one of the cameras we first installed in 2019, since it was turned on. Speeding here along Ocean Avenue has declined by 89%. I also asked my team to do a deeper analysis on crashes along this corridor since the camera was installed, and we found out more good news. Not only have a speed camera declined since we installed the camera, but as we all know, but also crashes has declined by 41%, and total injury has declined by 14%. But as we all know, the one very effective speed camera and all the others are turned off at 3:30 in the morning when more people are speeding. We need the authority to expand the use of cameras, as well as when and where we can use all these critical tools. Having control of speed cameras and automatic enforcement combined with our work on intersection and protected bike lanes and bus lanes and so much more will improve safety for everyone pedestrians. Let's say loud and clear so Albany here. A speed camera save life. A speed camera save life. Speed camera save life. Escuchamos al alcalde Eric Adams. Está pidiendo que el Estado de Nueva York le dé la autoridad a la ciudad de Nueva York para lo que pasó esta familia valiente, trabajadora, formando un hijo muy productivo, no sea la historia de más familias en la ciudad de Nueva York. Le pedimos que nos den toda la autorización para controlar todo el uso de la cámara que le dan ticket a los choferes que andan manejando en alta velocidad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rodriguez, and thank you for your lifetime of work championing road safety. Next, we have Chief Michael Pilecki from New York Police Department.
Good morning, Your Honor. Thank you. Commissioner. Thank you, Mayor Adams, Commissioner Rodriguez, and our government and civic partners, and good morning to you all. The New York City Police Department knows that traffic safety is public safety. Our officers know this, and it's our mission to educate New Yorkers about this truth. The NYPD and our highway district also know that automated traffic safety measures work, as the mayor said. Automated tools are force multipliers that enhance the safety of the people that we serve, and they are a proven speed deterrent. Speed was a factor in the crash that occurred here, in this very spot. On August 18, 2020, a truly tragic night, 18-year-old Isaiah Benloss first suffered grievous injuries, so severe that they would ultimately claim his young life. I would like to assure everyone here and the public that from the moment that this tragedy occurred, the NYPD and its collision investigation squad have worked relentlessly on the case. The investigators and their prosecutorial partners working together have one objective, and that is to obtain justice for Isaiah, his mother, his family, and for all of us in the city. Their work continues in this case as the investigation remains active and ongoing. Please note that because the investigation does remain open, we cannot take any questions related to the case. However, if anyone has any information that can possibly help us, we ask that they please call us at 1-800-577-TIPS. Again, we would like to assure everyone that we are doing everything possible to bring this case to a successful conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief, and thank you for the New York City Police Department's untiring work in bringing justice. Our next speaker I'd like to welcome is the sponsor of the legislation, Senator Andrew Janardis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. As someone whose family lost a loved one to traffic crash 65 years ago, I can tell you that the pain never really goes away. It just gets a little bit easier and a little bit softer day by day, but it always lingers there with you. All the more so when you know that the cause of that loss is preventable. We know what we can do to have saved the life of Isaiah. We know what we can do. We have the data. The mayor read the data. The commissioner read the data. 71% reduction in speeding. It makes no sense why we cannot have these cameras on 7 days a week. It makes no sense why we cannot have these cameras on 24 hours a day. It makes no sense why we can only have 1% of the city's intersections covered with red light cameras. It's 150 corners. That's one neighborhood. That's one neighborhood. In a city of 400 plus neighborhoods, one neighborhood of red light camera coverage. 410 neighborhoods, the wild, wild west. Frankly, it makes no sense that the city cannot control its own destiny on its streets. Why should a senator or an assembly member from Plattsburgh or West Chazy, New York, or anywhere outside of these 5 boroughs have any say on when a camera can be on where you can put a camera, and on what the speed limit can be on these city streets? It makes no sense. And so we are going to do everything we can, partnering with our leadership here in the city, under the mayor and under his team, to make the strongest and damnedest case we can to Albany, to let New York City control its own streets, because there's no other alternative. There is simply no other alternative. And as the father of a 14-month-old, I can tell you without a single ounce of hesitation, when I walk my son to daycare in the morning, like I did this morning, when my wife pushes him in a stroller to go to the park, every single day we walk with fear. We walk with trepidation. How do I know that that car that is speeding towards that yellow light is going to stop in time so we can cross safely. I don't. No parent or family or senior or any pedestrian of any age should live in fear of crossing the streets at any hour of the day, any day of the week. That's what this is fundamentally about, and that is what we fundamentally need to do. So I want to thank our mayor. I want to thank our city leadership. I want to extend my heartfelt condolences to Isaiah's family. And we are going to do this in memory of your son and in memory of everyone who has lost their life to traffic violence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. And I want to just point out something that we've seen across the nation, and we've seen especially in New York. Speeding increased during the pandemic. Speeding increased during the pandemic because our streets were empty. The other time that our streets are empty is late at night, in the wee hours of the morning. So those are the critical times that we need to be able to employ tools against reckless driving and actually driving that renders people losing their lives, losing the lives of their loved ones. So it's not as though it's guesswork. It's not as though we're testing something out. It's actually proven, and we're in a pandemic again. We're in another pandemic against traffic violence across the nation. Rates have gone up, and New York City needs to do its part. We knew how to use vaccines. We knew how to use masks. We knew how to flatten the curve. We can do the same when it comes to traffic violence if we are given the ability to use the tools. And again, I want to reiterate, this is not a draconian measure. This is not adding additional burdens. It is reinforcing established rules of the road that we know. Stop at a red light and don't go above the speed limit. It's not that difficult. And so I think what we are doing today is so important in terms of sending that message, but we need to have it reinforced by all those that are here with us in every way that you can, so that we're able to be effective and we're not standing on this corner again a year from now. So with that, I want to turn it over to Rondell Booker Adams. Oh, we're going to go, actually, I'm sorry, straight to questions and answers, but I do want to thank representatives of Families for Safe Streets who have been tireless advocates, both in the press and behind the scenes, supporting families who never wanted to be a member of their group. So we'll turn it over to Q&A, and I want to thank everybody for coming today.
Before we do Q&A, it's only fitting to have Councilwoman Joseph to say a few words. This was a student in your school, to hear from you, and you know, just personal condolences. I know how impactful it is as a teacher.
Good morning, everyone. Councilmember Rita Joseph, District 40. Isaiah was one of our students at PS6. So when I got the news, again, this is the second student that I've lost to traffic violence. So this becomes very personal. So my partners in city and state, we have to do everything we can to change the number, change the data. As an educator, data used to drive my instruction. Data needs to drive your policy decision makings moving forward. So Albany, I'm calling on you. Councilwoman Joseph and her partners in government are calling on you to do the right thing. I don't want to lose another student. We invest time. I was waiting for a call for NBA draft. He was a star at his school. Not to get the call that they're burying him. So Albany, I'm calling on you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, come forward.
I'm glad that we are going to be able to hear from a member of Families for Safe Streets. Welcome, Rondell Booker Adams.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you to Mayor Adams and Commissioner Rodriguez for gathering us here today. My name is Rondell Booker Adams, and I am a member of Families for Safer Streets, the club no one would ever want to join. Losing a loved one in a crash is unimaginable, and more of us are living this nightmare. We are truly facing a traffic violence crisis, especially in the outer boroughs. 2021 was the deadliest year on New York City streets since 2013, and so far this year, numbers are on track to be even worse. But let me tell you, These are not just numbers. Children on their way to school with so much life left to live, so much hope and potential, seniors with wisdom and life lessons to impart on us. And in a split second, precious lives are brutally cut short by our unsafe streets. My sister, my beautiful, talented sister, Hermanda, faced the same deadly fate. On January 3rd, 2017, she was tragically struck and killed not far from here on the intersection of Nostrand and Kings Highway, a known dangerous street. Hermanda was a New York City public school teacher. She taught special education. She was headed to work on the first day back from Christmas break. Her book bag was filled with treats for her 7th grade students. She was so excited to see them and hear all about how their vacation was. But she never made it to work that day. She was killed just a few blocks away from our family's home while she was walking to the bus stop. Can you imagine what it was like for us to pass this site on a regular basis? Her death has left a deep void in the hearts of our family and her friends, her students, and all who knew her. She was an inspiration to everyone she came in contact with, overcoming all obstacles she faced, from being an immigrant, migrating to this country as a young girl, to being the first-generation college graduate. My sister loved life. She was a hard worker and had so much left to do here. She never got to start a family, get married, or travel the world, things she spoke of often. She wanted to change the world, one student at a time. That was her motto. My sister's life was important. Isaiah's life was important. And your children's lives, parents and siblings and grandparents' lives are important too. Traffic-related deaths and serious injuries are preventable. And I think that's the worst part for me, that this is preventable. If we design our streets by putting people first and not cars, and make sure the proven safety measures are not just in the city's fancier neighborhoods, my sister and so many others would still be here with us. New York City has made other tools as well, has many other tools as well, like speed safety cameras to reduce speeds and keep us safe. But state restrictions are preventing these tools from being on when a majority of fatalities actually occur. This makes no sense. If these solutions are known to work, how can we only keep them on during certain hours? How can our state leaders face my fellow FSS members whose loved ones were killed when these cameras were off? How can we not be applying solutions that are known to save lives? We need our legislators in Albany to give New York City every tool it needs to save lives. No one should know the pain my family knows. We need legislators in Albany to let our great city reach the full potential of Vision Zero. We need legislators in Albany to give New York City home rule over street safety this year. Not one more family should have to bury a loved one in a preventable traffic crash and experience the heartache and nightmare that many of us have come to know. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And this is my beautiful sister, Hermanda. Thank you, Mayor.
We're gonna take questions. You ready to go? We're gonna start with on-topic questions, so let's go on topic first. Gersh, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I know you're talking about Albany today and Albany Control, but 2 months ago you were at another press conference, another street safety press conference, a couple blocks from here, and you talked about efforts that the mayor's office can do, including redesigning intersections, which is ongoing, and also a stronger enforcement effort by the NYPD. But over the next full month of that enforcement effort, it turned out that the NYPD wrote less than one ticket, moving violation ticket per day, per precinct in that enforcement effort. So can you talk to us a little bit about more that the mayor's office can do, whether it's enforcement or massive pedestrianization of streets, car reduction strategies? What are you going to do?
I say this over and over again. Whenever we're dealing with crises in a city, there are many rivers that feed the sea of these crises. And there's some things we can do on the city level, the federal level, and the state level. We're going to do our job. You keep holding us accountable on the city level. That is the job of the commissioner of DOT and the job of my police commissioner. You help us. You identify those locations where we're weak. We're going to respond to them accordingly. And if those precinct numbers are not reflecting the issues in that area, the police commissioner is going to get on top of them. We're going to get them right. And if you point them out to us that we're failing, I'm not coming up with excuses. We're going to execute, and we're going to get stuff done.
On-topic question still? Yeah.
When does this come up in Albany? When is it going to be presented? And how many more cameras? How many cameras do we have now, and how many more might you expect to have, assuming it's successful?
So I can talk about part of that, and I'll defer to our city colleagues. These are ongoing conversations. The speed camera program expires at the conclusion of this, the middle of this July. So there is an urgency to renew and expand the speed camera program. I believe there are about 2,000 cameras slated to be installed in 750 school zones. It's my understanding, and I'll let DOT comment on that, that is a pretty comprehensive blanket of coverage across the entire city, and that they're not looking to add more, though if there's more needed, that's obviously within their decision to do. I also have separate legislation on the red light cameras that would expand the number of intersections for red light cameras. And on the broader question about overall home rule, I know that there was a request that the city made for it to be included in the budget this year. It did not make it into the Senate and Assembly one-house budget resolutions. I'm hopeful, but not super optimistic that it will be done by next week, but certainly something that we are talking about trying to push through on a separate legislative track by the end of this legislative session.
The previous mayor had a goal under Vision Zero of no traffic deaths by 2024. Do you think that's achievable?
If we don't have the support that we need, we're going to do our job and continue to do our job here in the city. But a lot of the goals we're trying to obtain, unfortunately, we're creatures of Albany. And this is a basic request we're making. As the senator stated, why can't we control our streets? And I believe the more we have the barriers removed from the outside intervention, we could achieve that goal, and we're going to move towards that goal.
Speaking of the speed camera legislation, have you all discussed it with Governor Hochul, and can you go into a little bit what those conversations have been like?
We had conversations on all of our priority agendas in Albany, and you know my rule, I don't talk about private conversations between lawmakers.
Mr. Mayor, you're talking about how the city needs the state's help to get control of its streets again. What can the city do on its own? In the first 2 months of 2019, the city wrote 183,000 summonses for traffic violations. Compared to the first 2 months of this year, it's just 80,000. That's a drop of more than half. So what can the police department do to improve its own enforcement on streets, which seems to have virtually disappeared amid the pandemic?
We have to do a better job. As you know, we have been dealing with a real crisis of gun violence. 29 people shot in a short period of time. Last week, almost 44 people shot. Dealing with a host of other items, but we want to get our traffic enforcement personnel involved and send a real message out to all of our police commanders that public safety include vehicle crashes, and we have to get engaged, and that's the message I'm going to give to the police commissioner.
On topic questions? Oh, Jamie, go.
If you get home rule, how many intersections do you want to be equipped with traffic cameras?
You want to answer that? She said we get home rule, how many intersections?
Well, we are looking to follow all intersections that the data is showing that we have issue with speeding. We want the mayor and I, deputy mayor, we have said we are declaring intersections as sacred places and safe places. So we're going to be just following the data. And in any intersection where it's shown that we need to have a speed camera, we will be analyzing with the Tina City Hall, DOT, NYPD, and hopefully moving forward. But first, we need to get home rule.
And it's important to point out that having these automation, I'm a big believer in automation. If we have the automation that we're looking for, it allows our officers and others to free up to do additional things. If we had the automation, you don't need a cop fixed at a corner. When you have that speed camera there, this is a smart way to integrate enforcement by using that automation, and that's why it's important. We're going to continue to use technology to make our city safer, and this is one of those tools that it would be extremely helpful so that we can have police officers do a multifaceted approach, as in making sure they're doing the enforcement that's needed, but you have a permanent enforcement that's in place in those areas where we have high fatalities and high crashes.
One last on topic.
Yeah, hi, Danielle from Politico. I was just wondering, enforcement has been down since 2019, as other reporters have referenced. Is there someone from the NYPD who can speak to why enforcement has dropped over so many years, even before the pandemic, and how they think they can correct for that?
You said before the pandemic?
Yeah, I mean, enforcement has been down since 2019, according to the city's own MMR data.
Okay, I could only tell you about January, February, and March. So I will put you in contact with someone at the New York City Police Department. We used to have, when I was a captain, something called traffic stats, where you will analyze the heavy traffic areas where you had crashes or fatalities. And if we don't have that still in place, we're going to reinstitute it. Traffic stat, I was a Cap XO that was in charge of the traffic stat in the 6th Precinct. It was a great tool, and we're going to find out if they're using that tool. We need to be zero focused on being preventive, not only reactionary in the process, but someone from the team will get back to you and see if traffic stat is still in place.
Let's take some off-topic questions.
Okay, so why don't we free everyone up? Unless the family would like to say anything, it's up to you. You don't have to if you don't want to. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
We're going to do off-topic.
We just want to free everyone up. Thank you, my condolences. Thank you.